What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I am Alex, and boy, do we have a show for you today. I'm joined by two amazing Life is Strange creators trying to branch out. You know, we got some Twitter representation, we got some YouTube, and their links are in the description. I'll let them introduce themselves, but we're here to talk about what just happened. You know, there's been it's been quite a lot. You know, the last couple of days. We got episodes 1 and 2. We'll talk about our feelings on it. Spoiler filled, so we're not going to hold back, and we'll talk about the future. And we're going to try to avoid, if possible, the audio leaks that came out. We're not going to really dive into it, so we're going to kind of steer away from that stuff. But we'll just start with Willow, and if we do questions, I'll kind of mix you guys up. So not just Willow's going first. But what do you guys think about the episodes? Introduce yourself. How you feeling?
Well, hi, I'm Willow Winefield, aka Loud Moons on Twitter. I am a huge Life is Strange fan, and I really enjoyed chapters 1 and 2 of Double Exposure. I was very much engaged with the entire thing, especially the choices. There was more major choices than I thought there was going to be. Um, I guess I do have some theories, but I'll let Sparksy talk about how she enjoyed it and what she thought of chapters 1 and 2. So if Sparksy wants to talk about it.
Very good.
Yeah, so to introduce myself, my name's Sparksy. I am also a Life is Strange content creator, just more on the YouTube side. And yeah, personally, I also really enjoyed chapters 1 and 2. I always look for that Life is Strange feeling when I play any Life is Strange game. And I just feel like episodes or chapters 1 and 2 just nailed it with the vibes, the music, the story as well. And like Willow said, the choices, like even so early on, there were just such difficult choices to make. And it definitely had me, like today, going back and sort of replaying the chapters and seeing what the other possibilities were as well.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask because you had the choices like choosing your mug, which I love that it said like that will have consequences. Like, what consequences to picking a mug have? But I want to know you because I did it twice. I live streamed the choosing Chloe path, and then I just played on my own the choosing Arcadia Bay. But I also tried to do the major decisions kind of both ways. But I want to ask you guys in terms of, like, I can think of the Lucas one, obviously, right, as a main one, right, sending the restraining order or not. So if you guys can remember some of the bigger options that you had to do, which includes the Chloe one, which one did you guys choose to go down, and what'd you think of what they did there?
I'll let Willow go first.
Okay,
Gather your
so
thoughts.
all the major choices I remember are the Chloe one at the start, dating Amanda or not. Then there's I guess one of the consequences one is saying if Safi is suicidal, um, with Yasmin in the office, and then there was another choice with Lucas. There was one with Gwen.
Yeah.
In terms of Lucas, I deleted the picture. I guess I wanted to send it to Safi, but I also believed. I think this goes in hand with the theory that I have, but I also stood with Gwen. That was another choice that I made in chapter 2. In terms of chapter 1, I did not romance Amanda because I have Chloe alive, and I guess I'm holding on to hope, but for Pricefield. But I think in terms of at the very least, in terms of the Lucas and Gwen one, it kind of steers the game into a direction that it definitely plays onto someone else having powers, I think. But
Yeah.
what do you
Which
think?
we'll get
What
to.
choices did you make, Sparksy?
Yeah.
So with Chloe, obviously I saved her in the original game. So I chose that Chloe was still alive. And because of that, I also did not romance Amanda. I really like Amanda's character. I think she's really sweet and really nice, but I didn't want to romance her because the same as Willow, I'm just holding out for hope for Pricefield there. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. Like in terms of Lucas, I also deleted the email because I also believed him as well. I thought, this is his kid involved. And I just feel like sending Safi that email would have just complicated things. So I did that. There was also a choice in chapter 2 as well with Alderman. What did you guys
Yeah.
do with that one?
The first time I rejected it, and then I approved it. I said, I'll help him the second time. And yeah, I wonder where that's gonna, because really only in that moment, like Moses gets really mad at you if you choose to. I don't know what you guys, but if you accept it, he gets mad. And then the ending, the bombshell ending, there is an extra line where he basically says, like, you sold me out to Alderman and you shot Safi. So it's like, I wonder where it's going to go in the future, but at least in the moment, obviously, even though as Max, you can say to Moses, well, I agreed to it, but I lied. Like, I'm not actually going to rat you out. And so that was interesting there.
Yeah, I didn't take Alderman's offer either, because I knew that I wanted to prove to Moses, I guess, that I was on his side. So
Yeah.
I'm like really glad that I didn't take Alderman's offer either. What about you, Willow?
I did not take the offer because one, I don't trust the police in this game to do their job, and also Alderman creeps me out, and I feel like I don't know. I think Alderman is gonna be. I think he's good at his job in a sense because he is trying to get under Moses' skin to see if he can get a confession, which I guess is what they kind of do. Um, but I just have a feeling that it's sort of like the Gwen thing, right? Because the Gwen thing, you could do this, what is quote unquote the smart thing, and save the footage. But then Gwen gets her feelings hurt. And I think in terms of Moses and Gwen, they're both characters that you can kind of pick up that they aren't really trusted by a lot of people, or at least there's just like I think what Moses dropped hints about is like, being the suspect all his life. Like people see him as maybe like a black, queer man, and they think they're prejudiced against him. Or Gwen dealt with, transphobia and stuff. I feel like it's very important that they get support. So that's probably why I also did not take the deal with Alderman, and also because I like Moses and I believe he didn't do anything.
With
No,
that being,
I
I
get
agree
that.
with that being said, I took the evidence from Gwen on the first. I felt like I need whatever is on that tape. You see, I think that's probably going to go into the future of like this doppelganger type stuff. Like I'm going to want to see what's on that tape event as Max, right? I think she needs to look at whatever that is, and that can help in some way. Now, if the impact isn't all that big, I'm gonna feel bad for doing that to Gwen because yeah, you really sour. But you know what? You kind of sour their relationship as well if you call Loretta's bluff, which I did the second time, but not the first. And the second time, you get into trouble with Gwen as well. So I was already in trouble with her, right? So yeah.
I think that's why I decided as well to support Gwen at that part at the crime scene, because I did call
Oh,
Loretta's
you call her,
bluff,
yeah,
and Gwen got very upset at me, and I was like, oh, I felt
yeah.
so bad.
Yeah, to do
Um,
both of those back to back, that's like that relationship's done. Even though it starts strong, starts very strong.
yeah,
But yeah, oh man,
I like
what you
Gwen, but
what
then
did you
but
do,
then when
Willow? Did you accept the Loretta thing or not?
I answered the questions because, well, at first I thought she was going to ask more questions than I could answer accordingly.
Yeah,
I didn't expect it to just be Max, just saying that she doesn't believe that Sophie did anything wrong, which I would have picked anyway, so I wasn't like upset about it.
yeah.
But I did answer the questions because I think calling her bluff, I wanted to do that, but I also knew that, um, I also felt that Loretta was just gonna completely act on the bluff anyway, like she wasn't bluffing. Um, so I guess I was lucky about that, but I answered the questions, and it also was interesting to me because no matter what you do, Loretta cuts you in on some information on the Overlook, and if you call her bluff, she says, "I feel like I owe you for,
The
the whole
Gwen, yeah,
Gwen thing." But if you answer her question, she's like, "Well, I owe you because you answered my questions."
yeah.
So I
They,
think
they
that's really interesting.
Yeah, they got those ways of that's actually honestly something kind of small because that's not like Life is Strange, but I want to see as the episodes go, like what are defined moments, right? Where it's like these have to happen, and that's a moment that it doesn't, and that's that illusion of choice, right? And it's like I wonder how much that appears, and that's what I was kind of looking for, and I caught that as well.
I think it could possibly be because Loretta's relationship about Max more than anything, because even if you get the same information, Loretta and Max are kind of they're either sour with each other or they're just kind of like, cordial, which I think is a difference.
Yeah. So what did you guys think before we get into the theories and like where it's going and some of the more deep dives? So end of episode 2, camera, spins around. We see who's the criminal. Immediate. So without like, you don't have time in that moment to know leaks or to know theories. Did your jaws drop or like what'd you go through in
I
those
nearly
moments?
fell out my chair. I genuinely couldn't believe it. I really could not believe it. And ironically, my first thought was I was suspicious of Moses, because of him having the camera. But then I thought, why would he put incriminating evidence on a camera
Yeah.
and then show Max?
Yeah.
So then I thought, maybe, yeah, he's definitely. I don't think he's suspicious now.
Yeah.
What do you guys think, though?
Um, when I first saw it, I scared my dog because I gasped really loud. Um, and I was just in total shock. And then in that moment, I was like, okay, the doppelganger thing has to be real, or it's a timeline thing. Who knows? But I think at that moment, I was like, okay, what happened with Gwen with security camera footage capturing her selling drugs to kids, and Reggie seeing a different version of himself, or just a doppelganger version. And the whole thing with Lucas, saying like, oh, someone, my wife told me that my son heard a bunch of things that I told him, but I wasn't there. I think there is a doppelganger thing, but I do want to point out something that I just thought of. When Max looks at Loretta, when you first see Loretta in chapter 1, she says that's Loretta, and she doesn't remember the last name of Loretta. And I think that could be a callback to Juliet because they're both journalists, and she doesn't know Juliet's last name.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a cool little Easter egg.
Yeah. Yeah, it was immediate. I kind of immediately went more of like the timelines and like an asteroid because she's got the tear, which the tear part, like her crying is the only thing that stops me from like 100% going the doppelganger. But I think I overwhelmingly believe the Safi has power kind of thing. But just Max crying in the picture is the only thing holding me back from like 1,000% because it's like it feels like it's still possible. And you got to remember, Life is Strange 1 had so many, I think, obvious things that were going that were not actually true at the end of the day. So I like that can be cool depending on how it plays out. But is it like she has to kill Safi for like an asteroid related thing like that? I feel like that's still a candidate. It's just not like the front and center anymore.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense for
So
sure.
what do you got? What's your prevailing theory of like where we're going with like? Do you think Max did it? Safi? What do you think?
I keep seeing things about like Automax. I don't know if you guys have heard of this theory about like Automax. I'm pretty sure I saw a video that QQ did talking about Max potentially being the culprit of this entire thing.
Yeah.
And that also come to mind as well when I saw that scene. Um, and it's hard for me to talk or explain the Automax thing because even now it's still it just doesn't like it makes sense, but also there's just so many different levels to it
Yeah.
because people touch on the Automax thing in Life is Strange 1 as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So that essentially straight away come to mind was
So is
Automax.
that where you're at? Like what do
Mm,
you think? Yeah.
yeah, Automax or the doppelganger theory with Suffy, or I feel like we will go back to that scene maybe right at the end.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Willow, what do you think?
I think that somebody does have powers. I think it's shape shifting. Um, because and it might I think that maybe Safi isn't actually dead. Maybe, I don't know. I don't have any evidence to back that up, but I do remember when I played the second time when you go up the path to where the corpse was, and you pick up the phone and there's that whole cutscene with the owl. If you use your pulse, the owl doesn't change. So the owl's the same in both timelines, and also the cryptid footprints are the same in both timelines. And the footprints thing could just be like a prank from a student, or some like red herring. But it could be possible that maybe there's a shapeshifter that can become animals. Maybe the owl is maybe the killer being an owl just to like survey the whole town and go places undetected. Like I don't know, but I think that I think the powers at hand from the killer explain the doppelganger stuff. And I don't know what the motives of the killer would be, and I don't know why Max is crying in the photo, but I think there's going to be a lot of mind bending in this game in the later half that kind of
Yeah.
explains everything. Maybe it explains stuff from before the game even starts. Who knows? But yeah, that's where
Yeah.
I'm at right now.
Yeah, it's like I keep trying to relive that, when Max leaves Moses to her knocking Safi down like that. I feel like you got to just watch it and play it like 1,000 times. But even like something as simple as, I feel, do you guys think there's going to be literal rewind stuff going on? Because I know I saw a theory of like, when could you, like, which picture would you rewind to? And then I think, well, the first Polaroid that you pick up on the ground is before you take the picture of the owl. So, like, to me, it's got to be like the Moses Safi Max picture that you'd have to, if you were to jump back into anything, because like the timelines seemingly start to split when Max takes that first picture when Safi's already gone and Moses is there. Like that's when she first gets the headache, and that's when that's just I think the starting point to when something happens. But what do you guys think with like rewind? Because did you get caught by Alderman on purpose? Because I sure did, just to try out that rewind thing.
I did, yeah. I know that they had showed that in one of the
Yeah.
Was it PAX West or PAX East
Yeah.
when Scurry, Nix, and Deck Nine were there?
Yeah.
So I
I
wanted
just want to
to,
see it for my
like,
own eyes
test
and be
that.
like, my God, they actually yeah,
They
they
went
do
there.
it. They do it so nonchalantly where it's like, yeah, so she can rewind time. It's a game mechanic, but they're not going to, at least not yet. They're not going to like address it.
A really cool quirk as well, I noticed. Literally, I did it as soon as like in the first part of the game, was you can actually, when you press the button that prompts
Yep.
to rewind, there a bit of dialogue. It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, I've not been able to do that for years now. Or God, Max, stop doing that. I
Yep.
thought that was really like a fun bit of dialogue as well. But I think it's probable that under certain circumstances, she could probably still rewind.
Yeah.
I
What do you
think
think?
that okay, there's a part in the reveal trailer where they're all sitting at the overlook, not the well, they're sitting at the at top of the observatory, but it's the same scene, but Max is looking at Sophie differently, and I think
Mm.
that is in tandem with the rewind because maybe she goes back in time through the photo, but you could see that Max is kind of side eyeing Sophie in the reveal trailer, and we haven't seen that in the game yet. So I think that's going to happen in terms of rewind, or maybe it's a nightmare sequence. We don't know. Anything could be a nightmare sequence. Um, but I think that in terms of her using her rewind, I think she's going to get it back, or maybe it's going to be something that's instinctual rather than something that she controls. That's kind of what they kind of implemented as an excuse for getting caught by Alderman. Um, but I think that what's really interesting in terms of the whole doppelganger thing is something that I noticed playing through the second time. When you go to Vin to check his phone, you can tell that he doesn't know his password and he forgets, the drink that he talked about with Max and all that stuff. But I think that the point where you unlock his phone, he disappeared, like he's nowhere to be seen. And I think it's because he was shapeshifted as Vin and now he shapeshifted as Reggie and he was over where Reggie was and Reggie saw that and then it kind of matches the way that the timelines go in the terms of the story. So I think that maybe the Vin that we were trying to unlock the phone wasn't actually Vin. But I'm not totally sure.
Oh my God, it gets deep. It gets deep. I had one idea that I want. Oh, I want to go through kind of like one arc of thinking with you guys, and then some of the chat they're coming up with some interesting things. I think we should read it out. But so another thing that's weird to me with like doppelganger versus like that is Max. So what'd you guys think of like some of the like? So when I was playing it, some of the things I said in the live stream is like, well, where is that timeline's Max? Like, is like Max the only one that's able to fill her own role in all these timelines? But she's But then it's like as the episode goes, and when she goes to her house at the very end, and you switch into the other world, she does say it looks like she hasn't been there in several days, right? So I feel like the hint so far is like that Max is missing. She also ghosts Safi, right? Like they were supposed to get coffee or whatever, and then Max jumps in and Safi looks kind of confused, which I think both of you guys kind of pointed out on Twitter. So what do you think is going on? Like, I guess doppelganger or not, where do you think the alive Max is? Because she seems to be missing. Or do you think Max doesn't exist? You know what I mean? Is it like that's what I just got caught myself up in, because that Max seemingly isn't there, but she has to be because Safi planned like a coffee date with her, but then she gets ghosted and Max hasn't been to her house in several days. But it's only been like 1 or 2 days, or no, I guess maybe like the time jump after Safi dies has been a few days. But you know what I mean? Like, actually, no, that might line up. Like, if Max, say, kills Safi, it seems like the game is hinting that she went into hiding like after that, you know, because nobody has seen her seemingly since that moment, that night. So I don't know. Am I making sense? You guys get what I'm trying to go for?
Yeah, it just really messes with my mind.
You know what could be
because like, what do you
possible
do
is
also if you doppelgang somebody? Like, does that, like, do you have to capture that? You know what I mean? So like Safi is like evil, right?
Yeah.
And she's like taking the, you know, identity. If she takes Max's identity, does she have Max somewhere? Like that version of it. So there could be a legit second version. Like Max could meet Max in episode 4 or 5 or whatever. But like, where is she?
What is interesting is that it could be that this Max that we're playing as, both Maxes collapsed into one Max.
Right.
And also the Polaroids, there's one Polaroid that you pick up where it has her handwriting on it in chapter 2, whereas like the snowball fight. And after you listen to the audio, Max says, okay, so this isn't in the alive timeline or the dead one or whatever, so it must be another timeline. And I
Yep.
don't know if that's for just collectible reasons, like maybe they're just gonna give us like little snippets into what other timelines are just for collectible stuff, or if that's a hint that it's not just two timelines at play here. But I think that either Max killed Safi in the alive timeline and went into hiding, or Max could be dead in the other timeline instead of Safi, and the killer might have hidden her body because when we discover Safi, there's no chance for anybody to hide Safi's body because Max was right behind her. So maybe Max got killed and then nobody found the body, so the killer was able to hide Max. But that's a really dark theory because I don't want Max to die. But that's also possible. But I think it is interesting. I think it will be answered why the alive timeline Max is gone. I don't know.
It's gotta be, because I feel like once I started to focus in on that, I couldn't let that go. Like I said it in my live stream multiple times. I'm like, where is Max in that? Or is it just like you said, like there's just one, whether you want to say, you know, the timelines collide and that's possible, right? Like when she took the first picture, got the headache or whatever, like that was some like snapping moment. She like erased herself from the other timeline, and now she fills that void in both. Like that's, you know, they could go there, but it was just once I noticed that, and I somebody pointed out to me that line because I played it, I saw the line, but yeah, when she goes into the house and she says like, looks like nobody's been here for several days, I just keep like focusing on that line. It's like, yeah, man, they're definitely hinting that she's missing, right? So it's like, is she dead or is she just in hiding? And that kind of depends on, I guess, who the culprit probably is.
Maybe Max is the cat.
No, go on.
No, I don't want the cat thing. No thanks.
I found it interesting though that like the second time she takes a photo of the owl, isn't that when she like blacks out and then she gets the we get to hear the audio of Chloe.
Yeah.
And it's, I presume it's like Arcadia Bay, like the alarm going off.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Then I want to believe like that was the issue is those collectibles, because I want to believe that moment with the owl is like the major like breaking point. But the Polaroid, I think you can only pick it up. I'm not 100% sure, but I always did, because the Polaroid is right before, you know, you take the picture. Like if you step forward too much, you'll get into that cutscene where she pulls out her camera. So it's like, if it's just a collectible, I actually kind of think it's more annoying. Like it needs to be important now, even though like, I don't know, I'm sure when the trophy list comes out, it'll be like collecting all the Polaroids is a trophy, but it's like, but now it actually has story like implications that there are all these different timelines. But it's like, yeah, I don't know if that means anything, but that's why I go back to the picture of like the moon with with Moses. Like I feel like that one, because she gets like the headache there too. She just doesn't pass out, right? So it's like that one. I feel like that's where it all started. But the owl one is more severe. So and it's right before the bullet goes off and all that. So it's tough.
Yeah, Deck Nine should know. Like we look into these things
Yeah,
deep.
we
So
do.
yeah, if that is just a collectible,
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
think it would
clever.
be
Like as
really
soon as I thought,
cool
I was like, this is
though.
cool.
Yeah, if they implement the collectibles to be part of the story, that would be really awesome.
Yeah.
Um, I what I do like about the Chloe lines is that when you sit on the bench in chapter 2, I think, Max remembers Nightmare Chloe saying you should have never come back to Arcadia Bay, which I thought was super interesting and super intriguing because it is true that Max would remember her nightmare and all the stuff that didn't actually, I guess, happen
Yeah.
because of how she handled the storm and how the endings went through. And I think that's interesting that Max remembers something that nobody else, I guess, like the fact that Max remembers that nightmare stuff, it could it could mean that maybe later we get to hear stuff that more nightmare, re-recordings, but I think that it could also weigh on Max even more because she clearly heard Chloe's voice saying horrible things to her and kissing Victoria in Life is Strange 1 and kissing Warren in Life is Strange 1 in a nightmare, which seems to be like the worst possible thing in that entire episode. Um, but but I think that it's really interesting that they implemented that point of Max's trauma too, not just the stuff that actually happened, but the stuff that happened in a nightmare, happened in a timeline that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. I saw in the chat there was one question I want to give. I think it was Weston who asked it, but what do you think to the idea that like how did that picture going back to the end of episode 2, like how is there a picture being taken of Max shooting in the first place? Like is that Safi taking the picture, or like wouldn't she have been shot in that moment? Like how does that scene actually even work? Have we thought about that at all? Because I'm
no.
pretty sure the bullet has exited the gun, right? Because there's like a little smoke. So it's like she did kill Safi, or she shot a bullet, but then somebody took a picture of her shooting, and did they take the picture as they got shot? Like I don't. And I guess actually another question that I just have now is like, why would you take a picture? Like I guess framing, but are you also using it to jump back in time eventually? So doesn't that mean somebody would know? Like that goes to the theory that maybe Safi knows about Max's powers. Is maybe Safi's taking a picture to know that she can return to that moment or something like that. I feel like there's a thousand questions just with
Who's to say though that it was Sophie that took the picture?
right, that too. But like who
Mm.
yeah, but then like who would it be?
That's what I mean. Like I just can't. When I think of it, I just can't wrap my head around it, and that's how I know
Actually, it
they've
was
told it.
Nico too. Who took the
They've
picture? Who took the photo of Max holding the gun? I don't understand that part. It seems like we don't either. Willow, you want
no.
to give it your best shot?
Uh, I'm trying when I think about the whole thing that happened with Safi, I think about the flowers on Safi's like body, where she was laying, and I think that see, here's the thing, because not only is people different, but objects are different too, like the candy that she ate.
Hmm.
It's not the same brand. Or there's like, and that could be a timeline thing where timelines are bleeding into each other, but it could also be perhaps that it's not just a shape-shifting doppelganger thing, but they could create actual illusions or actual fake bodies, fake objects, fake stuff like that. So maybe um I don't want to say like they create clones or something and then they have them do their bidding because I feel like that's not like plausible. But maybe Safi's not actually dead and the body, that we saw at the beginning of chapter 1, um, that we think is, oh, Safi's dead and stuff is not actually a real life body. It's an illusion, which would fit with the song that plays. Um,
Oh,
but the thing with the
deep.
camera, yeah, I have no idea. It's not like Max set up a camera and put like a timer on it and just posed. I don't think that happened. I don't know why anyone would take a photo. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess it would make sense if Safi like panicked and took a photo because Max was pointing the gun at her just for, evidence or something, or maybe I don't know, but I think since the gun is smoking, There's no way that she took a stable photo after she got shot.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Should have been a little jittery. A lot of good comments. Let's see. Let's hold on. Oh, well, just a lot of Safi being sus type thing.
Yeah, I think
A little
Safi
bit.
is not everything that we think she is.
Well, look,
Personally.
everyone speaks of her, and I find as well, Deck Nine have written her to be someone so likable, and like when you think of like True Colors and Jed, and
Yeah.
how Jed come across as this, great guy, and he was a hero, and this and that, and then Bombshell, he's actually not.
Yeah.
So I feel like is this a similar premise? They make you really love this character. She's charming, she's funny. Her and Max have really good chemistry. The voice actors have great chemistry. Just for then later on in the game for them to be like, oh, actually,
Yeah.
you don't want to be liking her.
And we haven't, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there things we've already seen in trailers and stuff? Max will tell Safi about like this double timeline, right? That so we haven't even gotten to that part yet where, and I'm interested to see some of the faces. I mean, as you guys point out on Twitter too, like, just the face she makes when she's kind of surprised to see Max behind her at the end of episode 1. And then, yeah, eventually Max is gonna, like, that's gonna be cool to me when like Max kind of just like reveals everything that's going on, and then like does Safi play it off like she doesn't know, even though she knows. Like that's gonna, and it, I like it being episodic. By the way, I've always petitioned for games to still do like the weekly or bi-weekly thing if that makes sense for them. And I feel like it's gonna take a little bit away from it because you're going to have these questions in episode 3, and then an hour later, you'll see it like in episode 4. And then, you know what I mean? So I feel like I actually would kind of want this game to still be separated just to keep this like theory train going.
I liked it until I played Life is Strange 2 when that was coming out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it took them about a year to fully release that game. And I remember, I think when I finished episode 3, and really wanting to know. And I can't remember which episode it was, but we had to wait. I think it was like 6 months.
Yeah, they did it.
Between
The Wolf
episodes.
Among Us with Telltale. They did they did episode 1, and I think it was 6 or 7 months till episode. It was a absolute disaster. Of you got, if you're gonna do it, you gotta like have the whole game done and say, okay, every 2 weeks or every week we're just gonna drop. But if done right, I think especially in a game like this, like a murder mystery, like this is fun, and like we're just. I'm not saying it's not going to be good, but we're just going to know, like, on the 29th, like that's, there's no speculation on the 30th or 31st or whatever.
I always like the episodic thing. I think Life is Strange True Colors, I'm glad that it didn't do it because I think that game would have been a bit underwhelming if it did episodic stuff. Not that I don't like True Colors because I do really like it. But I think people would have come up with grand theories, and then the reality of the game would have shattered those theories and people would have been upset. But I think Life is Strange 2, yeah, the whole wait stuff with that kind of soured a lot of people's experience with the game. When I first played it when it was coming out and I finished it, I really enjoyed it. But then but I was like still not as connected to it until I played it all in full later. But I think if this game were to have done episodic, like maybe once a week, it would work with this game because I think the murder mystery brings a lot of theories to light. I think the whole thing with I keep thinking about the camera stuff. I think Max I just can't explain it, but I think the whole thing with Safi's character too, like Sparksy said about creating a character that we like and then the plot twist happens. I think that does matter in terms of us making choices in the beginning of the game because we like Safi. If we like, the whole deleting the picture, sending it to Safi, if we like Safi more than Lucas, or we just don't care about Lucas, we'll just send the photo to Safi. But if Safi was already written to be kind of suspicious from the start, then nobody would really have any split decision about sending the photo to Safi. So I think that's a good thing that they wrote Safi to be really likable. And obviously Olivia did a great job performing as Safi, making her very energetic and stuff.
Weston's on a spree on the comments. I want to kind of read. Are the flowers the decomposition of a superpowered person, extra nutrients in the soil, shifting to a timeline where it's before humans, only nature, alien nutrients in the ground? The letter from Gwen to Safi saying, you seem to mimic poets instead of your own voice. Hello, shapeshifter. Safi using your shapeshifter. Oh, then somebody asked, and this is the question I think we should answer too, like, what's the motive? And then he answered, Safi using the shapeshifter to punish your enemies, Lucas, Gwen for the book, Vin because they slept together, Max goes back in time to kill Safi's shapeshifter to keep her from a murdering spree. Okay, so let's follow the Safi's bad, angle. What do we think is why do we think she's doing it? And like, how do you like, or what's like the end game, I guess, for that?
Maybe jealousy. With Max's part, Max is now this, famous photographer per se, and it's obvious that she's had quite a lot of success in that. And in Sophie's experience, whether she's successful or not, not too sure. I don't know if that's been touched upon, if that's just something I've missed. But maybe she feels like she's living in the shadow of her mother, like Vanessa, being like this principal at this prestigious university. And of course, it brings us back to like Sophie with this book deal, Gwen kind of convincing the publishers to pull out and things like that. So potentially, the main motive for me that comes to mind is just jealousy.
What do
I
you
think
think, Willow?
jealousy is a valid thing. I think it does make sense for it to be jealousy, and also it also depends on how long Sophie has had this power. Let's say Sophie does have the power. If she had this power for a really long time, it could turn her into a manipulative person because of the nature of the power. Because of the power, you're just pretending to be anybody that you want to be. And if that's possible, then you don't have to suffer a lot of consequences and you could pin stuff on other people. So it could turn her into somebody who just does it whenever, if you wrong her, she just automatically just screws over your life because it's her power and she can do it and why not? I think it makes sense the motives between Lucas and Gwen, but I don't know about Max though. I don't know what she would have against Max personally, to make her be framed for murder, or maybe she's not framed for murder. Maybe Max did kill her, but but yeah, I think the motive is very clear between Gwen and Lucas, but I don't know much about the murder in general.
And then there's some discussion about Reggie. So Reggie, to me, seems slightly like out of like that. I don't know how you guys like perceive it. Definitely want your opinion. But for me, it's like Reggie's like that's more of maybe the angle that like the timelines are like things are switching and things like aren't exactly like things are starting to break down. I guess I know there were theories. I don't know if I've seen like 50 theories, so I forget like who it came from. But things like that's like the weakest point like in this in the timeline, right? Where like you can maybe see through the veil, right? To see through the other side. So what do you think's going on specifically with Reggie?
With Reggie, I think it would make sense for the Overlook to be the area where it's the most weakest because even on the path to the Overlook, there's like three places where you can switch.
Yeah.
Um, and also it would make sense for the Overlook to be, let's say, the final battle area of the game because it's like overlooking the entire campus, and it would make sense. And
Isn't that where in the like where the person's holding the gun at Max? Isn't that where it looks like that's where it's at?
it could be, I don't know. It would also make sense because if somebody pulled a gun out in the middle of the quad, then it would be,
Yeah, it can't be a
um,
problem.
Bit
yeah. And
sus.
also about the gun, Lucas has a gun because he went to a gun range. So that's
True.
something. Um, but yeah, I think that it is true that that area is the weakest between the timelines. I, in terms of how that plays into the story, I don't know, but I think it could be that place that things spill out of that area. Like maybe things swap over without even trying to. Like it's
Yeah.
not like, oh, Max brings something over or uses her powers to switch a telescope. It just kind of happens. But I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think I think that's actually a really good. That it's kind of like a trope type thing with like timelines and there being like a weak point where things like spit, but they've already kind of set themselves up, right? Where Max is capable of swapping things, and then you can imagine that like things are probably going to get swapped without her ability, like out of her control, basically, and it probably centers around there. You got anything, Sparksy?
When it comes to Reggie, I'm the same. I sort of second Willow on that one. I do think it is just a weak point in the timeline, and maybe I don't know with Life is Strange 1, obviously when Max starts to use her power too much, causes
Yeah.
problems. So maybe it might be the same instance as well with these other characters. We know Max has the power, but we're not too sure about the others yet. So it could be a case of, like they're abusing this power and it's causing timelines to break down. And then people who don't have powers are now able to witness
Right.
this as well. And I feel like that it unfortunately was just Reggie that was the one who saw it.
Poor guy. What
Yeah.
I just thought about this. We haven't talked about this yet. What do you think about the Abraxas angle and the cube puzzle that and now you can only solve layer 1, right? But then you still can have it with you. So like you imagine as it goes, like you'll solve the rest. So where do you think that cube has any because you can miss I actually forgot completely because I was trying to like only look at the major things in my second playthrough and I forgot to pick it up. So I'm excited to like when the full game comes out just keep going to see like if that means anything, if you have the puzzle thing versus not. But what do you I mean you could take it either way, the cube or Abraxas. What do you guys got on that stuff?
I like to think that it doesn't have the cube doesn't have too much significance because I would imagine some people haven't picked it up, but it's kind of hard not to notice it because you literally walk past Reggie and
Yeah.
that cutscene triggers, and I feel
Yeah.
like that is the game trying to point you in that direction.
Yeah. I think I took a hard right the second time because he's on the left side, and I'm pretty sure the second time I did it, I went like the long way, and I just
Mm.
no cutscene, just completely walked by it, and then at the end of the when it gives you the outcomes, I was like, oh my god, I forgot. That was something I was gonna do on both playthroughs just because, but funny enough, I accidentally skipped it. I
I
guess
think.
you can solve layer 2. Well, see, I didn't do that either, so I'm behind the 8 ball.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know that you could solve layer two, but that's really interesting. I'm gonna try doing that later. But what I think is interesting about the box, maybe it won't like clear up everything in the entire game, but it will probably give us more context about Abraxas, or maybe it'll give us something that could be a clue, not because of the murder, but maybe a clue that can tie into the murder separately, about Abraxas itself. What I think is interesting too is that, let's say that what Reggie saw was another timeline. It would make sense, because he's solving the puzzle box and whatever. But if it's a shapeshifter trying to solve the box, then it might mean that the box does have significance. Because why would the shapeshifter be Reggie and try to solve the box? But I think it's a timeline thing. Because even in the trailer, we see that Alderman can see his other timeline self at one point. So maybe it could be the same thing with Reggie.
Yeah.
But what I did find interesting was that if you go to Vin in chapter 2 and he's looking at his tarot cards, if you switch between the both timelines, the tarot cards, the first one is the exact same that depicts his past, but the other tarot cards are different. And I don't know what that exactly means, but I think it's kind of hinting that there's going to be two different, outcomes for Vin, maybe in two timelines. But I did find that one of the tarot cards for the future was a blue butterfly and an owl.
Yep.
So
Yeah. I
I
mean,
don't know what that means, but we know the owls in this game, and we're going to see the butterfly according to some trailers, but we don't know what that means yet, I guess.
yeah. Yeah. It's and other people say they did it too. What's tough? So you got to remember also just from like an actual game too, right? Like you're just making a game. I mean the end thing is just going to be the end thing. Like I don't think the cube, anything that like I said that illusion of choice, right? Like that will be in this game. I don't, I mean it is what it is. You could like it, dislike it, but like something like that cube can't be too important, right? Because it's just factually something you can do or cannot do. And it's the same thing. I mean, that's the illusion of choice, like with again with Gwen with the evidence, right? Like at the end of the day, the game will end. You'll solve it. You'll get the ending without Gwen's evidence or with her evidence, right? It doesn't really matter. That's just something to kind of keep in mind of like, but that's tough, right? Because you have to, and that goes back to like the Polaroids. Like it's tough right now to figure out like what is massively important, like which of these choices, which of these smaller events mean something versus doesn't, because I mean, they all mean something, I guess, but at the end of the day, only some of them will.
I think in terms of character relationships, it could matter because
Yeah.
maybe I don't know if this will be true, but maybe Max has to prove to other people past Sophie and Moses that she has powers because maybe let's say another clue drops where or something incriminating against Max drops and everybody sees it this time. It's not just Moses. Um, then Max would be completely screwed unless she says like, "Hey, no, 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 I have powers. I can prove it." But I think maybe it could be I don't think it's going to be a True Colors thing, but maybe the relationships will matter in terms of maybe people believing Max, or people standing up for Max, or maybe people even talking to Max for further clues or further investigations. Maybe they'll just be like, "No, I don't want to talk to you. You suck." And you don't get any clues in further chapters because of how you treated them in chapters 1 and 2. So maybe that can play into it. But I think I agree with you that it won't matter in terms of the ending where you just kind of get the ending. But I think maybe it'll matter in little moments across the game.
Yeah.
It's like those little things will just provide a little bit of context instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll definitely. I agree with you. I think it'll impact some. Like I said, just right now we don't know like where it'll go in the future. But even just right now, doing the alderman like accepting or refusing. If you accept it, it doesn't really change anything. Like in that moment, Max can like say one extra thing. But like I said, at the ending when Moses jumps up and he's all afraid, he throws out just like that one extra line. So it's like, small things here and there that matters, right? That's like a thing you can experience in the game. But we'll see like if that adds up, as the game keeps going.
Also, you could pick if you are talking to Moses at the very end, if you pick the I can explain, you can actually try to tell him that you have powers. If you
Oh,
pick any other option, he doesn't listen to you. But if you say I can explain, you have a choice to say that there's different timelines or that you have powers. But either way, he storms out. But I find that really interesting too, because Moses does try to hear you out at first. It's like, okay, well, explain to me. So
yeah.
I feel like um, I feel like because I don't know what Moses is gonna do. Because what is he gonna do? Go to the police?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, like you
like
still have the scene where Max says, "Can't let what happened to Arcadia Bay happen here."
yeah,
She tells him, so I wonder how long they'll let like that breakup of like the friendship between the two last, or if like 10 minutes into episode 3 they have their sit down and Max is like, "All right, look, here's what happened, or here's what is happening."
I think maybe Moses will realize what's the point of Max even trying to get the camera if he could just like let Moses be framed for it. But I guess the photo itself. But I feel like why would Max sit down with Moses and be like, okay, let's look at the photo, teehee? Because
Yeah,
like
this
if
is
she
so
knew
much
the photo was
fun.
there, yeah, if she knew the photo was there, why would she let Moses see it? I think that's something. But also, I think maybe Moses won't go to the police, maybe because. Well, I guess because maybe he just like left the camera there, also
Well,
because he
this
can't just be
too,
like,
he'd incriminate himself, and also
oh, true,
he's
very
afraid of the
true.
police. I don't think he would ever talk to Alderman on his own free will.
Yeah, he would incriminate himself if he went to the police. But I feel like he could also just go to other people, maybe. Maybe Yasmin, but I feel like that would also be incriminating himself. But
Yeah.
also, yeah, maybe he won't know what to do because he can't just let a killer on the loose on campus, but at the same time, he doesn't want to go to the police. So maybe Max will catch him later and be like, look, I can prove it to you. And there's also part of the trailer in the Powers trailer when they're both looking at something supernatural at the same time.
Yep. Just got to walk him up to the overlook and just have him see himself in the other timeline or something like that. That'll scare him. It's very strange to me how Yasmin loves Moses so much. Does she?
I thought she was yelling at him in
Yeah.
before the meeting. Or
Yeah.
maybe
Like
she was
when
yelling
he
on the
comes
phone, who
out, he
knows?
doesn't give off the impression that she loves him. Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you think anything will happen with Yasmin? Like, do you think she's like some essential character? She's just one of the kind of background groups.
I think she'll matter a lot because it's the mom of Safi, but also I think it makes sense that maybe she doesn't like Moses because she sends aldermen to Moses's office, and gives permission to loot through the office. So maybe she suspects Moses, maybe, but I don't know why she wouldn't suspect Max either. Maybe she does secretly, but I think it would make sense if she doesn't like Moses. But I feel like Yasmin herself will matter as a character, maybe more in the later episodes, but I don't know. I still
Everybody's
have
very
my
willing
theory.
immediately to like write off Max, like that. There's no way, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like they kind of just they do say they both had meetings with the police like a ton of times, so they did talk. But it's like Max was the only one remotely close to her. There was no gun though, right? So that was like a thing. I guess that would have maybe stopped them from like really going after Max. But it's kind of funny in retrospect, looking back, that like Max is just kind of scot free just like a few days after, even though like she would be culprit, or she'd be like number one suspect, I feel.
true. But it could also be a Diane thing from True Colors where they secretly investigate Max like when she's not even realizing, you
Yeah.
know. But what do you think, Sparksy? What do you have any ideas about the whole Moses Yasmin stuff?
Yeah, I was definitely confused at episode 1 because it does sound like that Yasmin is yelling at Moses, and when I did my first playthrough, there's obviously 2 different, you can ask him if he's okay or what's happened, and either option you choose, he won't tell you. He's just he very
Yeah.
much keeps that interaction on the DL. So, yeah, that's definitely something that's baffled me as well.
Yeah, that's what Max and Safi mentioned, that Yasmin loves Moses, and then maybe not anymore. She tell the detectives, but yeah, she switches up pretty quick, it seems. Uh, let's see. I'm just gonna scroll up, see if there's any other. You guys have any theories or paths you want to go down that I didn't bring up?
I think that they did say they advertised this game to be like it would bring players closure around Max's story in some way. I guess we're gonna have to see when the game finally comes out if that's true or not. But I think that they definitely sprinkled a lot of Chloe flashbacks, a lot of Chloe voice lines in
Way
chapters
more
one
than I
and
thought they
two.
would, honestly.
Yeah, way more than I expected either. But I think that will come into play more and more as the game goes on. And when Max maybe sees something supernatural, maybe when she sees the two moons, she'll remember the point where she saw it in the first game. Um, I think that Max's past will be very important in this game, more than just a flashback thing. I think it's going to come into a head in terms of the entire plot. Um, but I think in terms of theories, I think I'm sticking with my shapeshifter theory more than the timelines just simply being split, because maybe those both things can be confusing on purpose. Because if there is a shapeshifter, but also the timelines are leaking through, it can cause a lot of wild goose chases.
You know, something I noticed with the Chloe lines is they're re-recorded
Yeah.
because it's Rihanna DeVries, isn't it? It's not Ashley.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I thought that kind of opens up a gate of maybe they re-recorded them for consistency issues. Like maybe there's going to be more new Chloe dialogue, so they
Right.
obviously won't use Ashley's lines and then get Rihanna to voice her, and that would just cause a host of inconsistency issues.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. That's definitely something I noticed as soon as those little dialogue lines of like the flashbacks of Chloe and Max is that
Yeah.
Chloe's, that they've re-recorded Chloe's lines. Not too sure if they've re-recorded Max's though. I think because it's still Hannah Tell, it makes sense. Um
Hers sound the same,
yeah,
especially that the very first one, like you said, with the alarm going on with the out. That one definitely sounds like, because Hannah's voice has changed, like I'd say an okay amount. That doesn't sound like her now. So yeah, I'd agree with you there.
I think
mm,
in some voice lines, like the partner in crime one, it is re-recorded because I I literally went back to Life is Strange 1 and I played them at the same time and they had differences. So I
Ah,
think there is some lines that Hannah Tell did re-record, But what I did find interesting is that it's cheaper for them to just rip lines out of Life is Strange 1 and put them in the game for Chloe than it is to hire Rihanna DeVries to get in the booth and then pay her to
Right.
re-record lines. So I think that there will be either new lines or maybe Chloe makes an appearance. We don't know. Fingers crossed. But I think that them re-recording the lines is a sign that we're going to get something new from Chloe at the very least.
Yep. No,
Mhm.
yeah.
Absolutely.
There's definitely, there's that drama with it, which we'll generally steer away from. But I agree. I think like I'll say this in terms of the only part of the drama. If they don't do that, if they literally that just seems very shallow, very I don't know any other word you could just like to just have somebody else, like you know what I mean, just to get away. There are rumors with the Ashley Birch thing, but I just feel that would be such a bad look from everybody. Square Enix, Deck Nine, like they'd all be, even Rihanna, just to have like 10 Chloe lines be re-recorded. So I'm with you. As soon as you hear that it's not her, it's like, all right, so they brought in, like you said, like it's cheaper than it, but it's like, well, is it an ego thing? Is it something like that? Or like, are you doing it because you're going to start to introduce new lines or lines that maybe didn't even happen, or, maybe Max is imagining things or whatever? Like, could we go like in a new direction with it? It better be that stuff.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because also, um, Ashley Birch is very, very busy. And I would see that it would be hard even if they were to, even if they wanted Ashley Birch, it could have been the fact that she's just so busy that she can't do it. But I feel like them re-recording it isn't just willy-nilly for no reason, because like we mentioned before, there probably will be new lines, but I think that it is a good sign that Rihanna DeVries is here because of and the re-records and stuff. I do believe that I have people tell me because I'm not on Twitter right now because of the spoilers, but I have people tell me that people are attacking Rihanna and Katie Bentz and Hannah Tell, and I feel
I
like
saw
that's
about Katie. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like no matter what anybody thinks of the game, this game, let's say it fully comes out and it's the worst game ever. No matter what, I feel like people should never attack the actors. You don't even have to attack the devs or the writers in such a cruel way, but you can criticize them. But I feel like the actors they have nothing to do with how the game is written. So I feel like it would be very immature to take that
If the
angle.
rumors are right about like Deck Nine and Square Enix fighting, then like Hannah Tell's got no say over anything,
No,
right? She's
absolutely
literally
nothing.
she's just doing a job. So like there's no point to
When I went to the photography foundation event in August and I met Hannah Tell, someone asked a question if Hannah or any of the actors have any say in the creativity. She said absolutely nothing at all. Like they have no creative input whatsoever. They're literally just, it's like, this is your script, this is what it is, and
Yeah.
Even in the
that's the end of it.
mocap and the way that they move, they have to do it in a very specific way.
Yeah, like it's very, very heavily directed. There's no improv really or any creative interpretation from the actors involved. So yeah, they do have to follow a very strict code with that. I think. Well, we know because she had said.
Yeah. They bullied Warrens. I didn't know about that. What did
Jeez.
Warren do back in the day?
Poor Warren.
Yeah, poor. I mean, he
Um,
just gets attacked from all angles.
I
Yeah.
think also the whole voice actor thing, I think no matter what, this game did Hannah give us more Max, which I think no matter what, that's also a blessing in
Yeah.
and of itself.
I will.
For
I will.
Hannah and for us, because we get to hear Max again, we get to see, you know, new animated Max, being her adorable self. I think this is I think the silver lining the most. I feel like even if the game is really bad, is that this really did mean a lot to Hannah Tell to come back to play as Max, and I feel like that's in and of itself worth a
Yeah,
lot.
that's almost worth it just all on and like I said, like I think what they decided between one and double exposure is honestly the hang up of like an okay amount of like the anger, right? Like with the Chloe
Mhm.
stuff. But like I actually think just like watching Max, like well, number one, the game looks so insanely good, like visually, like I don't know, like it's the best looking Max you'll ever get until if they ever do a third game. But you know, just to have her back, like, is really, really special, you know? So, I'm not saying, you know, you bring it back just to, you know, do that, but I think what they've done with, like, she seems like Max Caulfield. I guess that's what I'm getting. They seem to actually understand it, at least when she's on screen. Maybe they got into fights, or maybe they don't know, kind of what's special to people, either or. But I think when Max is on screen, like, it feels like Max. It's just like we were saying kind of in the very beginning. Like, this does feel like a Life is Strange game. I think they nailed that feel, and I think they nailed the feel of her.
Yeah, especially her inner dialogue. I feel like that's
Yeah.
really good because Max is kind of like the queen of that. I mean, Chloe was kind of too, but I feel like Max's whole the reason why we love Max in the first game not is if you take out all the inner dialogue from the first game and just left Max and what she says out loud to other people, it wouldn't be as much of a connection to Max we would have as a player than if we heard the inner dialogue. Because a lot of her characterization comes out in her mind. And I think that they really nailed that too in terms of the writing. There are some people who are like, "Oh my gosh, she's so flirty now. That's so crazy." But I feel like that's just, you know, 'cause she's older and
I
More
do
more
find it
bold.
weird that I mean, I don't. Well, she looks visually fantastic. It is weird that every single person has a crush on her in this game. That I think, especially I think the way that they handled the Amanda thing. Like, I agree. I think Amanda's actually really cool. Like, Amanda, I could see being friends with, like, in real life. Like, she just that's a well written character, and well acted. But the fact that Safi asks you about your dead girlfriend, or you're not your just the fact that, like, you just had to tell her about Arcadia Bay and Chloe, and then immediately she's like, "Hey, go flirt with Amanda," even though you can, like, put a roadblock right then and there when you go up to her. But just, I don't know, the way that they kind of combine, like, everybody likes Max, the way Max likes everybody else, and the speed of it all feels a little. I think that's a little too much. Myself personally, I guess.
I think the romance between Max liking everybody else is determinant on the player, obviously. I think just because the options are there doesn't mean that she actually does like all the people there, unless you choose those options. But yeah, I think I don't blame everybody for liking Max. She's so gorgeous in this game. But yeah, I think it is very interesting how Safi's like, "Oh, your girlfriend's dead? Okay, well, go flirt with her now."
Go, yeah.
You know,
There's
it's
Amanda over there, so
yeah,
go.
but I feel like if you tell her that she's not your type, she does say friend, which I feel like, oh, make a new friend would be good for you. So I think that's something. But yeah, I feel like they put this in the very beginning of the game because there probably is no place to put it anywhere else. And luckily Amanda is very likable. And what I do like is that dead timeline Amanda, even if you try to pursue a relationship, she says, okay, well, you're grieving. I think we shouldn't do this right now, which I think is very commendable of her. Um,
Mhm.
and it does also leak into the other timeline where Amanda gets mad at Max if you romance her because she's ghosting Max for 2 days, which also, I guess, ties into why Max is missing. So I guess everything is kind of connected.
Oh, see, yeah, see, I didn't think about that one. Max has a problem, I think, with just responding her entire life with Chloe, with Moses. She lets him kind of freak out a little bit before she answers him. Yeah, she's a busy girl, so I understand it, I guess.
Every time
Also,
she says to any character, like, "I'll text you," I'm like, "Will you? Will
Yeah,
you,
in a month.
Max?"
well, now it's in our hands because you can actually text back sometimes. So
This is true.
That's true. Only some. Only, like, you can't go. And I was honestly, I wonder if they'll, because, like, the mom and dad, Chloe, like, some of those, like, there's just, I wonder if they'll add more messages. But, like, again, like, well, like you said, like, where's the time, or, like, when are you gonna, like, nicely put those things in? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Max is busy, and, like, you're full force into the story. You don't really have time to, like, message Chloe, like, on the side, right? So it's like a lot of those background things. You'll still see, like, the posts, I guess, because I think there are new feeds, like, from Victoria and them in the second episode versus the first.
I mean, she
Mm.
doesn't even respond to her parents'
I don't
voice
know
on
why she calls her
crosstalk.
parents by their first name. I find that
That's
extremely
weird.
weird myself
Yeah.
personally.
It could be
But
her just being detached because she detached herself on purpose, but I think even then, she should call her mom and dad, but I mean, she put it on her phone as mom and dad, so
right,
that's interesting.
yeah,
But
and she
also
reads the yeah.
in that one
Maybe it
trailer,
was just like, do we ever know their names before? Maybe it was just Deck
I mean,
Nine.
Vanessa and I think Sean no, not Sean. Vanessa and there is one character. Well, I guess Sean Prescott is what I'm thinking of. But there's Vanessa and there's some. I think we do know the dad's name, but I forgot what it is. But I know it's Vanessa as the
I'm saying,
mom.
do we know it before she said it?
In Life is Strange 1, we do.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was gonna say maybe it's Deck 9 wanting to add a little lore in just like a weird way by having her say that.
I found it really weird that in the sacrifice, if you obviously tell double exposure that you sacrificed Chloe, that you can go through that memory box and that Max's parents send her a postcard from Arcadia Bay where they've visited. Don't know why. Like they must know that obviously of what happened to Chloe. So why and Max has gotten away from there. Why they would send her a postcard of a place that caused her a great deal of trauma is a whole other thing. Like I would be so mad at my parents if they did that. Like if I lived somewhere and a teacher that was in like a trusted authority committed what he did, and like my best friend getting shot dead in a bathroom, I wouldn't want to remember that place
Yeah.
at all.
They're just so disconnected. Like she doesn't talk to him, and I wonder. I guess I could understand. Like if she calls him on like a first name basis, I could understand it from the sense of like when she was 18. You look at those texts, and she's also distant. She's just like never close. And then now, I don't know if we still don't know if it's been 10 years or not, but it's several years later. And you look at those messages, like they said freaking happy birthday to her, and she didn't even say thanks. Like she just doesn't talk to these people. So it's like
Well,
I can
I
the
think she
distant ending. Well,
did.
them sending that postcard. It's like, well, they do know about Chloe, right? Because the swap in
Yeah,
the text. I think they add a line because they ask about Chloe. They say like,
yeah.
you've been very distant, or you have like, do you need to talk to somebody about Chloe or something like that? So they know a little, but yeah, I just get the sense, obviously, that they don't talk. They don't talk, even though she moved to Seattle with them, and there must have been something that happened there.
I mean, isn't there those like text messages where they said last time we talked was on your birthday? I think they called on the phone maybe, but not through text. And also in the text, they said that they were on a phone call with Max, and Max was like, "No, I had a cold," you know. And then they're
Yeah.
like, "No, we know you, Max. Like, we know when you're sad. Just did anything happen? Did Mark Jefferson do anything to you?" And then Max is like, "No, sorry, I just have a cold," you know.
Yeah.
Um, because she can't say anything. Because what's she gonna say? Like, "Oh, this did happen." Also, even if she did, her parents would never let her move past that because they would constantly like, it could open up a whole can of worms where she can't move past it. Because and also her parents might be upset because she held it in for so long. I don't know. But, yeah, her relationship with her parents is very interesting. And I feel like her not even replying like, texting Chloe is interesting too. I feel like I mean, they did break up or they grew apart if they're just friends and stuff, but I feel like there has to be a reason why they don't even talk anymore at all. I mean, they follow each other on crosstalk, and it's not like they blocked each other's like number, but
Yeah. I wanted to believe there's going to be more because, like you said earlier, like if this is any sort of ending or closure to like, even if it's just like an arc of Max's life, like there's still like unresolved things. But again, it's about like picking. Well, how important are these things to Deck 9 that they have to like close the chapter on? But like, are they going to? Is part of this game about Max like ending that trauma and just like kind of being able to move on from it? And I guess the reason I could say yes is because of those Chloe lines, because those are forced on you no matter what happens, right? You hear the flashback. So like it seems like that's somewhat of an integral part of the game no matter what happens. So it's like maybe there will be closure to those, to that arc. Because you can't like there's no choices that stop those Chloe lines from happening, right?
yeah, and also there's a text message I think in a trailer where the parents said like, "Oh, we know you're happy in Arcadia Bay, you know, but if you want to come back, our door is always open." And that could be a nightmare sequence because it's the only number on her phone. Um, but I feel like I think everything will come to a head in terms of her past in this game 100%, especially in the very end, maybe episode 5 for um or just throughout the game. But I feel like if there is a closure thing, I what I hope that doesn't happen is that they leave it open, or they leave it open too much, where they're kind of like, oh, in the next game we're gonna fix all the stuff that's open in this game, and then they just end up never making another game, and they're just screwed.
Yeah.
But I think if they said that there should be closure, they said a lot of times that this game is a game that the fans will not know that they wanted, or a game that the fans didn't know that they needed. And I feel like the fans are really mad right now. So, but I feel like when the full game comes out, maybe it'll clear up a lot of things, and people will realize, like, okay, maybe they were being honest about that, but I guess we're just gonna have to see.
I want to cling to that, and I do honestly, like, I still give them the benefit of the doubt. I think, because I haven't seen the audio files or anything like that. Like, I still want to believe they can nail it. And I think they've done a good job. Like, I would just say that. But it is funny when you see things like online of like, it's the game that you didn't know that you need, and then it's it's all of this Chloe stuff. It's like, well, as of now, I don't really think that's true. And then that is, that is a decision, or that is a consequence to doing, while I'm, again, a fan of these episodic things, when you break it up, and Square Enix, I would say, definitely broke it up for money purposes. I don't think you release it for $30 more 2 weeks early for fun. I think you do it for money. When you do that, you do create this, like, unbalance of like, okay, well, you get almost half the game already. People are gonna be vocal, Not, and people are going too far. Some people are going too far, but people are being loud because they've played half the game. And then they chose to wait 2 more weeks to give you the rest of it. So yeah, as of now, like, we're in a funny spot right now, because it's like, I don't know if this is the game we needed this second,
I know they said about respecting both endings, and that's all well and good. And I think with the Sacrifice Chloe ending, it's obviously really easy for them to respect that, because Chloe's, dead.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to take a little bit more time for them to show the respect of the Sacrifice Arcadia Bay ending. It's going to take a little bit longer to flesh it out, to develop it. So I think that is a thing a lot of people are forgetting. Like, we are just only 2 episodes in.
Yeah.
So I think people need to give it a bit of time. There's still three more episodes for us to, play. And for them, like you said, like both of you said, for them to clear things up. So that to me is keeping me optimistic.
Yeah.
I think there was somebody, I think I saw it on a YouTube comment, but I don't know if it's true, but somebody said that a dev on some other platform said that in response to everybody freaking out, was like, guys, just wait for the full game. We promise we didn't let you down, or something. And then people took that and ran with it, and some people are using it for hope stuff. Some people are saying, oh, they're just liars trying to get your money. I think, the Square Enix thing with the early access, I was never a fan of the early access. I did like the idea of the episodic thing, but I feel like paying for it was a mistake. And also the whole, the fact that they were able to data mine the game and leak it everywhere is really damaging. And I guess that's more in terms of the fan base than it is of Square Enix themselves. But I think that we should keep our minds open and avoid spoilers if we can, and have at least a little bit of hope. And if the game turns out to be terrible, then we can just take to the streets and criticize the game. But I feel like we have to wait at least to play the full game for us to get our pitchforks out, I guess, or not,
Yeah.
But I do agree with Sparksy with the whole Bay thing.
I feel like, though, maybe they did this on purpose, because obviously they knew contents of chapter 1 and 2, and knew what we would see, and they must have known how much people wanted Chloe, especially people who saved her. So maybe they've done this because they know it will generate a lot of controversy, and it's marketing. That they want more people to talk about their game, and it's the hot thing right now. And then perhaps in the next 3 episodes, we could potentially get this redemption arc. So that's sort of what I'm hoping for, just a nice little, Deck 9 redemption arc, and for Deck 9 to regain trust of a lot of fans. So I feel like people, though you've said, and I agree, people have taken it far too far, but I think people are well within their right to be upset about it as well. But I think definitely attacking voice actors, attacking people playing the game, attacking the people that actually enjoy it, I think is just going a bit too far.
Absolutely. No, yeah. No, we're of like minds. I love criticism. It's my
Mm,
best friend. But yeah, I mean, like when you take it to threats, harassing,
yeah.
like, there's honestly, it's a pretty easy line. People cross it also so easily. I don't really understand it. You can be mad. You can say you're mad. You can make
Oh,
videos and tweets. There's nothing wrong with any of that stuff. It's just when you cross the
I
line of
think
like,
it's perfectly okay and healthy to criticize things you're a fan of.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially, like I said, when they made it's not I mean, Square Enix is the one when it comes to like how the release is broken up. That's definitely more the publisher. They chose to split it up and use extra money to. I like Square Enix. Kingdom Hearts, one of my favorite franchises ever. Life is Strange. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm a big fan, but they make some bad choices. And $30 and the cat thing is not worth $30, so I'm not going to
No,
go there. It's definitely $30 to play it early. That was their decision. And in that way, the criticism, like you get what you get, right? Like you asked for this in that way. You didn't ask for the harassing or the data mining stuff, but you also kind of have to be smarter with that too and be like, if you release the game, even if the other files are like hidden, people are gonna. It's 2024. Like people are gonna do this. It's you got to be more careful. So
they're on top of it though. I've
yeah.
seen quite a few
Oh yeah,
people
they've
on
taken
Life
it
is
down.
Strange
Yeah, they
Twitter saying, yeah, like be careful what you say and what you put on there because they're on top of it. They're monitoring it for
yeah.
sure.
Yep, but I want to believe. I want to believe those employees too, because I don't know. I saw what you said, Willow, about the about like just wait for episodes 3 through 5. There was a guy, and I forget his name, but it was a person that responded to some of the more like the heavy like price, Chloe Price people on Twitter months and months ago, right? And he had said kind of the same thing. He said like, "Hey, we're on the same side. We would never do that to you," right? Like that whole arc that happened maybe like 3-4 months ago. I don't know if it's the same guy or if it's a different employee, but then it's like, all right, well, a couple people now. And yeah, they've put themselves in the unfortunate spot where people need to have patience, which is very hard on the internet. They put themselves in the spot where people have to wait to either say you just lied to us again, like you're just constantly, or yeah, you were telling the truth and we should have waited and we should have been more patient. But they put themselves in the spot that they have to wait 12 more days, right, to make that judgment.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of confidence in this game, which is proven to be a good thing. Like even the people that aren't in the marketing team, they're like, "Oh yeah, you guys are going to enjoy the game." Even the actors that don't even need to promote the game.
Yeah.
Um, and I think one thing that I could compliment the game on is the music. It's fantastic. But
Yep.
I think Tessa Rose Jackson was asked what her favorite character in the game was, and she said, "Oh, I can't answer that now until the full game is released, but she says something like, "Oh, you guys will not be disappointed." And
Yeah.
she's only the musician. She doesn't have to say anything. She could just simply just be there and be like, "Hey guys, I made the music. That's it, you know."
Yeah.
But the people that that aren't in charge of like the marketing and stuff, if they're also people just simply saying, "No, guys, just trust us, just wait for the end," I think that is something to be optimistic about. Worst case scenario, they're just lying. But I feel like there is something in the later half of the game that will clear a lot of things up. And I feel like a lot of people have been making comparisons to The Last of Us 2, in terms of how the fandom is right now. Um, and I think it brought up an idea or something that reminded me of Last of Us 2, which is there is I guess I'm not gonna really talk about the concept of Last of Us 2, I guess, but there is a purpose in Last of Us 2 where the player has to feel a certain negative emotion to further the game. And somebody made a comparison like, oh, this is just like that same thing where they're trying to make people get riled up um on purpose. Like Sparksy said with the controversy, making it controversial on purpose or knowing the contents of the game and because they could have 100% done chapters only chapter 1 or chapters 1 through 3 or something of the like, but they knew the contents of chapters 1 and 2, like the letter of Chloe, the postcards, the texts and everything. And I feel like they're sitting in their offices either, very worried, or they're sitting in their offices, sipping tea and waiting for everybody to be like, "Oh, sorry, you were right,"
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. Yeah, no, the confidence, and honestly, like I keep saying, like it's good. Like there's the things that you can get hung up on. And, we've talked about even this live stream, but for most of this stream, the first 60-70%, we were talking about all these interesting theories of like this murder mystery. Like I think the two things. Well, I mean, actually several, like the visuals, the music, as you said. I think just the murder mystery is extremely good so far. It can go really bad in a lot of, just depending on which choices they make. Like I said, like some of my favorite theories for Life is Strange 1 didn't happen. Like the homeless woman in the back, I thought that was Max. I believed that rumor or that theory, and it didn't end up happening. It's like I would have liked them to have done that, but so there are ways, I guess not that I guess that makes the game any worse or better, but there's ways that this can go really bad. But I think they crafted like a really good game so far. Like,
Yeah.
there's the things when you're playing it that kind of like snap me out of it, where it's like, okay, well, now we have to think about this Chloe stuff. But as a game, like it is good. It's definitely good. I don't know, like right now we're in the spot of like, but was it needed? Like, did we need this game? And we still have to answer that question when the whole game comes. I think that's probably going to be my main thing at the end of the day is like, okay, if the game's good, great, but did we need to have the game in the first place?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I feel like in terms of everything, the plot, the writing, the character, I think the character writing is very good.
Yeah.
Um, I think that the world building is very good, like having the performances through Blue and Olivia and Hannah, really highlighting that the friendship has been happening for a while. You could feel that. I think that's very good. I think in terms of everything, with between music, visuals, designs of the environment, designs of the characters, the animation team, all of that, the effects, the sound design, I think all of that is really, really good. The feel of it being a Life is Strange game is very good. What the big thing I think that could drag this game down is how they handle Alive Chloe timeline and all that stuff, and how the murder mystery ends and how it, fully flushes out.
Yeah.
But if they nail both of those, then this game is going to be great all around.
Yeah.
But I think if they fail on at least one of those parts, it can really bring down the game. But I guess we just have to wait and see. But I do have faith that this game, that all the hate that this game is getting right now might be toned down by the end. Well, we don't know, but I feel like that there is something worth waiting for in the later half of the game. I think that there is something that might actually bring us some peace and bring us some closure. But I guess that's all in terms of what they actually have in store, I guess.
Yeah. And even to this, does it really feel like a Life is Strange game? To me, the Don't Nod games feel more lived in and less sanitary and dreamy than the D9 games. This game does feel like true colors, and I think it's literally like there was an image I saw. Like the coloring has changed. Like it's more vibrant, and just also like the character models, just like the way they went with it. Like it does look different than Life is Strange 1, but I honestly feel like they capture. I think a lot of it comes down, like we said, with Max. Like I just think a lot of her mannerisms, a lot of how she talked, like the dial, even though some of the dialogue is not like amazing. And so, I always go back to when she can go up with Lucas and say the whole murdering line. Like nobody talks like that. And when she says like it was a murder, or when she like repeats the same phrase. But that's like Hannah. That's like Hannah Talon. That's like Max Caulfield, and that is Max from the first game. So like I feel like that shows me that they've captured it, even though it's weird. And I don't know if you would give them like best performance and things like that, or best written. But I just feel like the cadence of everything, like they did it. That's exactly what Life is Strange is. Like it's a little messy, I guess. Like it's not perfect. It's more real. It's more like, well, I guess again, like who really talks like that? But somebody does, Max, right? Like one
Yeah.
person might talk like that, and so they kind of nailed that like uniqueness to it.
I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes it's the flaws that make Life is
Yeah.
Strange as well, and I think a
Yeah.
lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Life is Strange 1, some of the performances or the line deliveries are very bizarre.
Yeah.
But it does add to the charm because everybody else in the game kind of talks like that. It's not just like one person. It's kind of like Silent Hill 2, in the
Oh yeah.
original, all the performances are, in terms of like Oscar winning, no. But in terms of actually adding to the atmosphere, it did perfectly. So I think that's
Exactly.
what Life is Strange 1 when people say like, "Oh, Life is Strange 1 was cringe," or the dialogue was cringe, or the acting was cringe, I feel like it wasn't. I feel like it was exactly what it needed to be special and to actually resonate. Because if you just got everybody to be, perfect Hollywood actors, I feel like it
Oh,
wouldn't be
exactly.
as impactful in our brains and our hearts, or it
Yeah.
wouldn't feel like. I feel like it elevates the mystery of Arcadia Bay and like the whole essence of it and how it's Twin Peaksy and all
Yeah.
that stuff. I feel like that comes into the forefront, and I think in terms of vibes, I think that Don't Nod has a lot of is very very good at like the central vibes of everything, where you're not where there's no cutscenes, there's no anything, you just kind of experience the world. I think they're very good at that, and how everything is consistent in style and stuff. But I think that Deck Nine also has their own style, and that they nailed it with True Colors. It's a new style, and they did really well with that style. And Before the Storm arguably has one of the best music in soundtracks in the games. People believe, and I think that the vibe of Before the Storm, even if the plot isn't the strongest, I feel like the vibes are really there. And in this game, in Double Exposure, I feel like it does feel to me, personally, a Life is Strange game. If Because you can't always compare all the games to each other because they're all so different.
Yeah.
But I feel like that it does have that spirit in it.
Yeah. The Silent Hill thing's really I like that you brought that up because that game is also off. Like I think off, like the cadence and stuff like that. But it's like you said, like it's what it needs to be. Like that is Silent Hill 2. That is Life is Strange, just where everything's a bit more messy, maybe like a one take type thing. Like just give it your all in one go, and like that's the take. Like it just feels a little disjointed in that way, and that's kind of what. But the whole thing is like that, so it feels good. Like and actually it feels different too. I think that makes it more unique because you don't get a lot of games with Silent Hill 2's acting. You don't get a lot of, I mean, there's a reason why Life is Strange is so special. There's a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is that it's kind of like one of a kind, right? Like if you did it as like The Last of Us acting, you wouldn't get the same thing, right? So yeah, it's special. It's why we love it, and it's why, for the love of God, Deck Nine, you better come in clutch at the end here.
It
All
just
right.
feels more authentic, doesn't it, that way?
Yeah. Yeah, no, authentic is a good word to describe it too. Yeah, no, it's special. It's a very special series. All right, guys. Well, we went for like an hour and a half. Any closing thoughts? Anything you want to say for the final episodes? And we'll get out of here.
I don't think my heart is ready. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't think my heart is ready either. I feel like I'm very nervous. But I feel like I'm clinging to hope and optimism. And if they let me down, then I'll just, say it on Twitter and be like, hey, this kind of sucked, guys, but it'll be that. But I think that the most important thing that we can all take away, or something that we should all act upon, is that don't attack the actors. Don't attack. You can criticize without attacking. I feel like a lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
Um, you can criticize the game, you criticize the writing, but you don't have to attack people's characters. You don't have to attack people themselves. I think that's really important. But whatever you guys feel about the game is valid. Whether it's good or bad, it is your experience, it's your feelings. If you feel like even at the end of the game, if a lot of people say like, "Oh, they did Max and Chloe justice," but if you don't feel like they did, then that's completely fine. But I think we should all just be respectful, and we should, at the very least, before the full game comes out, we should maybe stay off of social media and try to cleanse our minds and get away from spoilers and have some hope, I think.
Yep. Stay off social, but watch
100%
our
agree.
videos, Sparksy and me, and then and if Willow tweets, like the tweets and all that stuff. Yeah, you gotta participate with us. But no, I agree. Well said. So yeah. Well, number one, thank you too for being on the channel and being on this live stream. It was a blast, and we want to do this again. We're probably gonna try to pull something together, maybe with a few more creators. Once the full game is out, we'll give it a little time to rest, and we'll try to hit at this again. Okay. So thank you
I'm
to the
really excited
chat.
for that. Yeah.
What?
I'm really excited for the full spoiler cast. I feel
Yeah.
like that's
Oh
gonna
my
be
God.
crazy.
Well, we'll have a lot to talk about. So thank you to everybody watching, both live and later on as a video. We really appreciate it. I appreciate you two being on. Make sure you show these two creators some support. Their links are in the description if you want to subscribe on YouTube or Twitter or whatever you want to do. And hopefully you see them back. I think you will see them back in a few weeks. Thank you two for being here, and we'll see you all on the next one.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
See ya.